One of the most moving documentaries in the festival this year is the Stillbrave 100. I have in the studio with me the director, Jay Korff, as well as the film subject, Mr. Tom Mitchell. Gentlemen, welcome to Picture Lock.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely. So if you could just go ahead, Jay, give us a summary of what the film is about.
Well, this all started a couple of years ago, actually, when I met a remarkable young girl named Gabriella Miller. At that time, she was 9 years old. She'd been diagnosed with what would prove to be a fatal form of pediatric brain cancer. I did a series of stories on her for my employer, Channel 7 and News Channel 8. For her memorial service, I'd heard about this guy named Tattoo Tom, and I knew that Gabrielle and Tom were really tight. So I met him at the memorial service, and from that point on, we became friends. And then he pitched to me one day, we were trying to figure out the date. He said, you know, for a fundraiser, I want to run 100 miles for 100 kids who either are fighting cancer, have died of cancer, or have beat cancer. Mm-hmm. And I said, that sounds like a great story. And from there, the rest is history.
Right. And Tom, for you, this obviously is a personal story. If you can just give us your backstory.
Okay, well, I lost my daughter Shayla to cancer in 2009, and one of the things that she was a little bit older than a lot of the kids I deal with today. She was 16, so we had some conversations about what I was going to do, after she passed away. And one of the things that she made me promise is that I would try to assist other families who were going through similar situations. I was a single dad and was faced with a lot of the struggles that you can imagine a single dad with a child in cancer treatment would be faced with.
Right.
So my organization called Stillbrave Childhood Cancer Foundation was founded in her honor, and also to serve the needs of families who are in similar situations to my daughter and myself. And the Stillbrave 100, the race itself, sort of manifests as a twofold thing. One was obviously a fundraiser to raise money to sustain our services, and the second was to raise awareness and also to aggressively and factually replicate the struggle that children with cancer face every day. To run 100 miles sounds like a really daunting thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine if you were a child with cancer, you're running 100 miles every day.
Wow.
You know, when you're fighting your battle. So it was a twofold mission, to raise money and to replicate the struggle and raise awareness.
Yeah, I find that amazing because the Stillbrave 100 is just, for any athlete, regularly it'd just be a chance to challenge yourself, right? Running 100 miles, correct? Back to back to back to back, I think that's what you said. But the fact that you took it and for each mile there's a child that you were running for, it's definitely a touching story. Myself with two children, I have one that's 2 and one that's 6 months. So the film just resonated with me. And I know I do have some friends that, I do have a friend from high school and one of her children passed from cancer. And the statistics are really daunting. Can you guys talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I know some of them. I know that Tom knows the data a lot better than I do, but there are two things that are really shocking. Well, the main one is that less than 4%, just under 4%, right around 3.9% of all of the funding research that NIH has to do in this country on disease research goes to all forms of pediatric cancer. That's a shameful number.
Yeah.
And one of the other issues, and Tom has a lot of experience with this, is that the protocols that are used for, the medical protocols that are used for kids when they're given dosage, really wreaks havoc on their bodies, to the point that if they don't die of the cancer, they die of, or there are just awful things that happen to them because of the medication that they're given.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on what he's saying, the research dollars for pediatric cancer is non-existent. Americans spend 20 times more money annually on potato chips than they do on childhood cancer research. That's a fact. That's not a random number that I'm throwing at you. That's a fact. And when he's talking about the medications that we're using, there's only been 2 new drugs approved by the FDA in the past 25 years for childhood cancer treatments. So essentially, we're using a 25-year-old treatment protocol to treat these children. We're treating them with poison, essentially. And so one of the things that my organization hopes to do, in addition to serving the needs of the families on a day-to-day in the trenches basis, is to help raise awareness to this country and to mothers and fathers out there with healthy children, that if your child is diagnosed with cancer and your child does get sick, this is what they have to offer. And it is, it's easy to sit here and celebrate this 100-mile race, but we did this 100-mile race so that we could raise awareness and bring attention to the travesty that is the childhood cancer treatment in today's America.
Could you talk a little bit about those challenges of bringing awareness? Because I do think childhood cancer is one of those things that, especially for parents, it might be one of the things that you don't want to deal with. Like you don't want to see it unless it's directly affecting you.
Sure.
So talk about some of those challenges and maybe how people can take more ownership.
Well, I mean, that's the number one thing. I don't want to kid you. I didn't care about childhood cancer. I mean, before my daughter was diagnosed, I mean, certainly I saw pictures of kids on TV with bald heads and I thought that was sad. But you know what? It faced me to have to look at my own mortality and to look at my children. We don't want to look at that. We don't want to go there. And that is the biggest challenge that we face today in the childhood cancer advocacy community, is to tap into the families of healthy children. Because they call me brave and they call me a hero because of the things that I do, but I kind of laugh and I think you're the brave one and I think you're the hero because you have healthy children and you're not aware of what's going on and you're not taking the steps as a country, and I say that as a country, you're not taking the steps to provide the appropriate treatment and medications for your child if they do get sick. And I don't know if I know it's, I don't mean to put that on you, but that's what's going on.
No, I totally, that hit me.
Yeah,
wow.
Because who, out of sight, out of mind. It's not
Right.
my kid. It's not my problem. But you know what? It wasn't my kid until it was my kid. It wasn't my problem until it was my problem. And today, I'm not here. My daughter died in 2009. I'm not here doing this interview for my daughter. I'm here doing this interview for your children, Kevin.
Wow. Okay, dude. I've never cried on this show before, and I don't want to start now. But man, that really did register with me. I do appreciate you guys.
And
you
so
know,
when I
just
met this
sharing
guy, and when I met this guy, and he was talking this stuff to me, of course, I'd already been through this remarkable, I mean, she changed my life. She's changed everybody's life. Her name's Gabriella Miller, and she really became kind of the poster child for the outrage and the awfulness of what's happening to these kids. But she did something incredible, Kevin. She decided to transform all the people around her, and despite arduous chemo and radiation treatments and that, quite frankly, the hell that she was going through, she decided to dedicate the remainder of her days to raising money. And she ended up raising, at the end of the day, if you think about it, from a congressional bill that was passed and signed by the president, including all the other things that she did, over $100 million for sick kids.
Wow.
And that's one little 9-year-old girl.
Yeah, she and I were very good friends, and what was interesting about her is that she shared the same passion and tenacity that I do. And she was a no BS kind of kid,
Right.
literally. If you knew about her, and I think that's the approach that we need to take, and that's why I'm glad that the Stillbrave 100 documentary is out there. And it's a great story about me struggling to run 100 miles, but that was just a vehicle with which I used to tell the real story, and the real story is it's not a pretty one.
And she was the thread. So I knew her, then I got to know him. And as it turned out, he dedicated each mile to a different child. He dedicated mile 99 to Gabriella, mile 100 to his daughter. So it was kind of my job, and I felt it was a big responsibility, but I felt that I could do it, that, I did this all on my own time. And I chased him around for about 25 or 26 miles of the 100 miles. And I felt like I had a responsibility because I knew and I loved Gabriella. And I have my own kids, and I knew that I needed to do whatever I could to make this story happen.
Yeah.
I had no idea, I'll be honest with you, I've probably told 10 or 15,000 stories in my lifetime as a news reporter. You can never predict the outcome of these things, but the outcome of this story is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Well, guys, again, I think this is one of the most moving docs that we have this year in the festival. Just talk a little bit about the film, any of the plans that you have for it, or how people can get involved.
Well, I can tell you, as far as the plans, I'm a first-time kind of guy. Haven't really been in the film fest world. I mean, I'm a TV reporter.
Right.
So I did push it to a number of film fests. Have had some good fortune. We've gotten into some. The All Sports LA Film Fest, Almost Famous Film Fest out in Phoenix. Just got into the Fargo Film Fest, Frozen River Fest.
Wow.
So there've been some. And the whole goal is just to get the story out there and to raise awareness, just like Tom said. And so that was really my goal in doing this. It wasn't even to tell a great story. I mean, I felt like telling the story was a means to an end. It's about getting this message out. And I know that he has another race in mind.
Well, I don't just have another race in mind. I am running another race.
Okay.
This coming September, I'm running a 200-mile ultramarathon. So
What?
yeah, it's going to be called the Stillbrave 200, and we're going to run it in honor or memory of 200 kids who are either currently fighting, have fought and lost, or in some cases are in remission and doing well today. It's going to be out in Lake Tahoe, and that's my plans, to raise even more awareness, and if I haven't already done so, to really replicate the struggle and to bring some reality to it, to put a metaphoric picture to what's really going on. I would encourage you too, if I can, please go to stillbrave.org. That's my website. You can follow us, and you can follow all the things that we do. You can look at me and tell I probably don't have a lot of bake sales. You know what I mean? That's not what Stillbrave does. We call ourselves renegades, and that's because we are. Renegades are the people with their own philosophies. We change the course of history, everyday people like you and me.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to promote, and that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to change the world, touch lives, one day, one kid at a time.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you all telling your story. And definitely any way that I can help out, please let me know. But thank you so much for coming on.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks for having us.